Hey everyone! So now that you have a plan for your composite, it's time to actually take the photos for it. So let me share some tips on how to get some good photos for your composite to make sure that your photoshopping is easier. Alright, so first off, for a composite to look realistic, there are three things that should be the same for the images you are compositing. So that's lighting. All should be, the same type of lighting. Is it direct lighting? Is it diffuse lighting? What is the angle that the lighting is coming from? The point of view. Is the point of view that your objects, that you're looking at your objects and your background, is it straight on? Is it from looking up? Is it looking down? They should all be the same. And the angle of view / focal length. So the same type of lens, like I talked about with the levitation project, the wide angle lenses and telephoto lenses have different types of distortions. And we can use Photoshop to kind of make images, take out distortion for this stuff, but I'm telling you, it's going to make your life way easier if you just pay attention to these while you're shooting your photos instead of trying to fix it all later on in Photoshop. Because you're going to have plenty to do in Photoshop anyways. Okay, so anyways, let's look back at our sketch. This is why we made it, is to help us out in figuring out what type of photos we need to take. So I need to get my background, I need to get my stuffed animal, I need to get some planets, I need to maybe get some clouds, maybe some different sky as well. All right, so where to start with this? Oh, and city rooftops. Okay, so where do we start with this? You want to start with your background. So the background is going to make it easier to match all your other images because the background dictates the lighting and the point of view. And if you want to go about this the same way as your levitation project, where you shoot everything, in the same location and lighting, that's really going to be your best bet, but that's not always possible. I understand this. So I'm going to show you how I went about it when I didn't have this forethought or whatever. And especially with my composite, I'm planning on using planets. So, there's no way I could have possibly shot those planets anyways. So there's going to be some photoshopping that needs to be done. That's okay. But anyways, the best place to start is with your background. You want to look closely at the direction of the light, the intensity of the light, the quality of your light. So here's some of the background I'm going to use. This is a photo I took of the Fresno skyline. It's not perfect. There's some obvious issues, like it's crooked. I'll take care of that. But I think this is a good place to start. I have my buildings here. I have a nice sky going on. I think it's going to work well. So next, what I need to do is I need to look at the lighting. So on this day when I took this, it was overcast, but there was still some sun peeking through. Now, so that means that there is some direct lighting happening. So this is a very interesting, lighting situation where we have both diffused, diffused light, or what would seem to be a diffused light because of the sky, because of the clouds, which creates diffused light, but the clouds weren't actually in front of the sun. So, let's see, is this photo? There we go. So that means that, we still have some direct light going on here. So I need to be paying attention to this. Which direction is the sunlight coming from? It's coming from right here. And I'm looking at the shadows. It's not just where the light's hitting, but how shadows are cast can really help you figure out what type of lighting it is. I have a really strong line here, so that means it's direct lighting. If it was a very soft line, that would be diffused lighting. And the direction helps me figure out that it's coming from up here as well by following this shadow line. Okay, so next I need to photograph my subject to match the light, the point of view, and the angle of view of the scene above. So now your best bet is going to be to photograph your subject against a blank background, so it's easier to cut them out. And so I know I'm going to be setting my stuffed animal right up here based off of my sketch. So if the background here is, darkish, it's not white, so it's better to go ahead and photograph it against a dark background. If instead it was a really, really, you know, bright sky, or maybe something else was in the background, it was white, I'd want to photograph my subject on white. That's going to make it easier to composite it in. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and photograph it against a dark background. This isn't anything fancy, guys. This is in my office. I just have a piece of cheap black paper that I got from Allard's, I think. You can get some big pieces of paper there that I propped up against the wall. I have my stuffed animal sitting there, and I'm just using a light. I think it was just like a lamp with a moving head, so I can move it around and try to get the right angle of light. Nothing fancy going on here. I don't expect you guys to have, you know, high-end photo equipment yet. Eventually you will. But for this, don't worry about it. And let me make this a little smaller. Okay, now we can see. So first, I'm trying to get the angle right. I'm trying to get, and when I say angle, I mean the angle of my camera. So for where the buildings are and where we are as viewers, you know, we're looking at it, you know, kind of straight on. But so I'm not shooting from above looking down. I'm not shooting from below looking up at it. I want to shoot at it pretty straight on, okay? Maybe slightly looking up, but yeah. So once we get this angle for our camera right, then we can go ahead and start getting the angle of the light right. So again, I'm looking at that angle of light from way up here, right? The sun is coming from up here. So relative to the subject, the object that I'm photographing, I want my light to be going at about the same angle. So at this point, you know, I had the lamp right above. That's way too high. This one I had it coming from here down below, way too low. But here now I've matched the angle, it's coming straight on down, and you can really tell if your subject has eyes where the catch light is. So the catch light is this light that comes from shining on your subject's eyes. This is going to be true for portraits as well. So here I could see that the catch light is up here. That tells me that the light source is coming from right here. Here's the catch light, so that's showing me the light source is coming from down here. Here's the catch light, that's showing me that this light source is coming from right up here. I love looking at images and trying to figure out the lighting, and that's one of the best ways to start, is to look at the catch lights to figure out the angle, the intensity of the light. Okay, so now that I have my angle and my light figured out, now it's time to take some shots. And I would say take a bunch. Maybe, you know, try, like, so in this case I turned the stuffed animal. I was figuring I wanted it to be about here, but I went ahead and turned it a little bit, turned it to the side, just in case I got into Photoshop and things just weren't working how I thought they were going to work. Then I would have a little bit more, some more options to play with. Always better to have more options than having to set up your lighting all over again. And in fact, if you don't have to, like in this case, I just left it up because I'm like, just in case, if I need to reshoot it again, I already have the light set up, I already have the angle set up, I already have my tripod set up, just leave it, let me get my compositing going. If you have that option, totally do it. Okay, so next we have photographs of your extra element. So for my specific composite, I'm using some planets, and NASA is so kind, they let us download images for free. So if you want to look back to see how to do that, you can go back to my lecture on ethics for websites to source images legally. I don't want to see illegal images in here. I don't want you guys to get in trouble in the future. So make sure that you're downloading them legally. Yeah. And I wasn't exactly sure, let me get a little bit smaller again. I wasn't exactly sure which ones I was going to use. I mean, I had some ideas, but like I said, I always go for more. So I started downloading a whole bunch of different images. I've got some different planets, some different types of like nebulas, some stars. So all kinds of different things that I can play with. And there we go. Okay. Now, you will be turning in all of your original and sourced photos as part of your lab assignment along with your sketch. So make sure you have you keep these in a folder so that you know exactly where they are and they're ready to go ahead and upload when it's time to turn all this in. All right, guys, so have fun with this. And next week, you're going to be working on actually pulling all this together in Photoshop to create your awesome composites.